Can you share the name of your business or project and a short description of what it does, including any goals, special pages, or features you'd like? Once I have that, I'll generate your Sarah Thompson was a quiet, simple girl from a small farm in the country. She lived for the sound of birds in the morning and the gentle hum of her tractor in the field. But when 5 bullies from a nearby town harassed her on the way home one afternoon, tying her to an old oak tree and mocking her, she didn't know what to do. She could only cry for help. She could only cry for help. Little did the bullies know, her husband wasn't just anyone. He was a Delta Force operative. And when he got that call, everything was about to change. New website for you. Sarah Thompson was used to the peaceful quiet of her farm, the routine of milking cows, tending to crops, and the occasional trip to the local market for supplies. She always enjoyed the calm, the wide open spaces of the country. But today, something felt different as she made her way back home. The weight of the basket filled with fresh vegetables hanging in her hand. The sun was beginning to set, casting a warm golden hue over the land, and she could hear the faint sounds of birds chirping in the distance. She passed through the narrow dirt path by the woods when she saw them, a group of 5 young men loitering by the old oak tree. At first, Sarah tried to ignore them, her pace quickening. But as she passed, one of them stepped into her path, blocking her way. "Hey, farm girl," the boy sneered. His tone was mocking, and he grinned as he saw her attempt to sidestep him. Sarah's heart skipped a beat. The guy was large, his frame imposing. She tried to keep walking. But another one of the bullies grabbed her arm tightly. "Where are you going in such a hurry?" The second one said, his grip tightening painfully. "Let go of me," Sarah exclaimed, trying to pull away. But she wasn't strong enough. The other 3 men began to laugh, surrounding her. She could feel her pulse quickening, fear bubbling up inside her. This wasn't the first time she'd dealt with local bullies, but she had always been able to avoid them. Not today. They dragged her toward the old oak tree at the edge of the woods. Sarah fought back, but they were too strong. One of the men took out a thick rope and started tying her wrist to the tree, while another shoved her against the rough bark. Looks like the farm girl got a little too cocky. One of them laughed. "Please, just let me go," Sarah begged, her voice shaky. "You don't have to do this." One of the bullies, a tall, lanky man with a scar running down his cheek, crouched in front of her. "You really think anyone cares about you? You're just some farm girl," he chuckled darkly, snapping a picture with his phone. "Let's see how long it takes someone to find you out here." Fear gripped Sarah's chest, but she wasn't about to break. She had to stay calm, had to think. She knew her only hope was to get help. Her phone. Where was her phone? With trembling hands, Sarah reached into her pocket, pulled out her cell, and quickly dialed a number. The only number that mattered, or the one she knew would bring her the help she desperately needed. As she heard the phone ring, her heart pounded. 1 ring, 2 rings. Would Jack answer? Please, Jack, answer. Jack Thompson sat at his desk in a small, dimly lit room at the military base. His eyes scanned through mission reports on his laptop, his mind focused on the task ahead. His uniform was freshly pressed, his boots shined to perfection. As a Delta Force operator, every detail mattered. Precision was the difference between success and failure. He had trained for this day in and day out, honing his skills in some of the world's most dangerous zones, but nothing prepared him for what was about to happen. The shrill ring of his phone broke the silence. Jack's hand instinctively shot out to grab the phone, his military instincts kicking in. He glanced at the number. It was an unfamiliar one. For a brief moment, doubt crept in, but he quickly answered. "A Thompson." A gasp. Then the voice he knew better than his own. "Jack, it's Sarah." His stomach dropped. His wife's voice was ragged, full of fear. He could hear the shakiness in her breath, the panic that threaded through her words. "Sarah, what's wrong?" he asked, his voice becoming taut with concern. "Why, they've got me, Jack," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm tied up. They're making fun of me. They've left me at the oak tree in the woods. Please, Jack, I don't know how much longer they'll leave me here." His pulse spiked. Jack's mind went into overdrive. Who were they? Who were they? What did they want with her? He didn't have time to ask. All that mattered now was getting to her. His hands gripped the phone so tightly, the plastic creaked under the pressure. "Where are you exactly?" Jack asked, already moving toward his gear. His body was a blur of motion as he grabbed his tactical vest and strapped it on. He could feel his heartbeat steadying, the focus taking over. Nothing would stop him from getting to her. "I'm near the old oak tree by the woods, Jack. Hurry, they said no one's coming. I'm coming, Sarah, Jack said, his voice cold and determined. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Just stay quiet and hold on. He disconnected the call without another word, his mind now a laser beam focused solely on reaching his wife. No time for hesitation, no time for doubt. He had been in countless high-stakes situations, but this was personal. This wasn't a mission. It was a rescue, and nothing, no one, would stand in his way. He jumped into his truck, the engine roaring to life. His hands gripped the wheel, his jaw set. The 5 bullies who thought they could mess with his wife were about to learn what it meant to face someone who would do anything to protect the ones they loved. The 5 bullies hovered around Sarah like vultures, their laughter echoing through the woods. The sky had turned dark, and the temperature dropped, but they were too absorbed in their cruel game to notice. Sarah sat tied to the oak tree, her wrists raw from the ropes, her knees scraped from where she had struggled to break free. The ropes dug into her skin, but she refused to let them see her pain. Instead, she stared at the ground, doing everything in her power to keep her composure. Think anyone's coming for you, farm girl? One of the bullies taunted, kicking the dirt near her feet. You're alone out here. No one even knows you're missing, another added, grinning as he pulled out a phone, snapping pictures of her humiliation. Sarah's mind raced, but she did her best to stay calm. She could hear their voices, loud and mocking, but they couldn't break her. She had to believe that Jack would come for her. Her husband was out there somewhere, and he wouldn't let them hurt her. She strained her ears, listening for any sound, any indication that help was near. A car, a voice, but it was only the wind rustling through the trees and the occasional crack of a branch. Just when she thought it might be hopeless, a sound reached her ears, the faintest hum of an engine. The bullies hadn't heard it yet, too busy reveling in their cruelty. But Sarah's heart skipped a beat as she recognized the sound. It was a truck coming closer. The laughter of the bullies faltered, replaced by confusion. "What's that noise?" the scarred one asked, looking around as if he expected someone to jump out of the bushes. Sarah didn't answer. She didn't need to. She knew exactly what was happening. Her mind focused solely on that truck. Jack was coming. He had heard her call. He was on his way, and no matter how hard they tried to intimidate her, it was over for the bullies. She braced herself as the sound of the engine grew louder, louder still, until it roared right up to the tree. The bullies turned in unison, their eyes widening when they saw Jack step out of the truck, his stance strong, purposeful. The fear that had been missing from them until now flooded their faces. "Get away from my wife." Jack's voice was as cold as steel, a razor-sharp edge that sent shivers down their spines. The 5 bullies took a step back as Jack approached, his movements deliberate and confident. He was not just a man, he was a soldier, and they were about to learn the difference between bullying a small-town girl and facing someone trained to fight and protect. One of the bullies, the tall one with the scar, tried to muster some courage. "Who the hell are you?" he sneered, trying to sound tough. "You think you can just walk in here?" And Jack cut him off with a sharp, commanding voice. Commanding voice. "I don't think. I know." His eyes were locked on the scarred man, unwavering. "You hurt my wife. Now you're going to..." The scarred bully reached for a knife tucked into his waistband, but Jack was faster. Before the man could even draw it, Jack was on him, his military training taking over. With a swift, practiced motion, he disarmed the bully, sending the knife clattering to the ground. The other 4 bullies froze, wide-eyed with fear. Jack's presence was overpowering. He was a force, and they were nothing more than scared kids trying to act tough. "You're going to untie her," Jack ordered, his voice quiet but filled with lethal intent. "You're going to apologize. And then you're going to leave, now." None of the bullies moved for a few seconds, still too stunned to comprehend what was happening. The scarred bully, still on the ground, grunted in frustration and motioned to his friends. "Fine," he muttered. "Untie her, untie." As one of the bullies fumbled with the ropes, Jack's eyes never left them. His body was tense, ready to spring into action at the slightest provocation. The man finally cut the ropes, and Sarah slumped forward, her legs weak from being tied for so long. Jack rushed to her, his arms immediately around her. "You're safe now," he whispered, his voice filled with tenderness. "I'm not letting anything happen to you." Jack helped Sarah into the truck, her body still trembling from the fear, but she was no longer alone. The bullies had fled into the woods, their bravado gone in an instant. replaced with the stark realization that they had underestimated Jack. As Jack started the truck, he glanced over at Sarah, who was now leaning against the seat. Her eyes closed in exhaustion. The sounds of the forest faded as they drove down the narrow path, the truck's headlights cutting through the darkness. "Are you okay?" Jack asked, his voice gentle but filled with concern. Sarah nodded, wiping away the tears that had fallen since he arrived. "I am now," she whispered. "I knew you'd come. I knew you'd save me." Jack's grip on the wheel tightened. "I always will, Sarah. No one hurts you while I'm here." As they drove away from the woods, the tension between them began to dissolve. Jack knew the bullies would have to face the consequences, but for now, the only thing that mattered was getting Sarah home, safe and sound. The storm had passed, and they were finally together again.